What's up,
You
guys? We're back.
I don't know if that was in there or not, so.
What's up, Addicts? We're back here with episode 9
Yes.
of Goblin Slayer. This has always been a popular series of ours, so we'll jump back into it with what happened in this episode. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we start off right where we left off in the last episode with them finding the mirror, and they're kind of like, oh, should we touch it, should we not? We're going to touch it, because that's what you should do when finding a mysterious item down in the sewers. And so that leads to them seeing that it's like a teleporter, in a sense. It like projects the other side, and then it's also used as a teleporter. Yeah, it's a gate, yeah. Thank you for using the fantasy terms. So that leads to them seeing a group of goblins. They kind of figure out where the goblins are coming from, you know, because they see the boat that was used a couple episodes ago. And that's at the moment when they're like, oh, we should probably do something about this. And that's when they get to kill a bunch of goblins and supposedly take out all of the ones that are troubling the city. And that leads to Goblin Slayer going back, talking to the Sword Maiden, and having the little bit of
PTSD.
She does have extreme PTSD,
But
it doesn't seem like anything else bothers her except for goblins.
so she's good now.
She is good, and they have like a little promise that they make. Tori's like, "Yeah, I'll kill goblins in your dream if you ask me to." So, which is
True.
yeah, it did happen. It's canon. After that, we just get to see that, you know, they get paid, they get to leave the city, they're going back to where they were, and they're going to have some icy treats.
Yeah, we have. I think this would be. There's been many battles in this show, but this battle was different in the means that it was mostly just goblins. It was like 50 goblins, and I think I don't know if that was a hobgoblin or
Because there
goblin
was
lord. I don't know.
What was the one a couple episodes ago where they were called it like a goblin night? I don't know. It was like weird, something like that. It's a bigger goblin.
It's a bigger one. It's a big boy. It's a thick boy goblin. But
watch out for the thick boy.
Exactly. But yeah, so besides that, it was basically just him facing off upwards of like 50 goblins.
Yeah, it was a really action-heavy episode. I mean, they kind of leaned into a couple stuff, you know, connecting things. Like, they're like, oh, you know, there's definitely a masked mind behind this, which I'm interested to see why they were like, oh, there's somebody actually controlling goblins and making them, like, way more of a problem than they would be typically. Let's not touch about that at all. Let's just get our money and go.
It's Goblin Slayer.
Yeah.
We don't even know, like, they were talking about, like, a hero and, like, a demon lord that was defeated, and it's like,
yeah.
Okay.
Which,
who knows?
I could be wrong, but were they alluding that was supposed to be her? Like,
no, we showed
person?
the hero.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, they showed who the hero was, I think, in, like, 2 or 3
Oh,
episodes.
that's right, because they were doing, like, who was it, the Bard or something?
Yes.
Was talking about them in, like, the Adventurers Guild?
I believe so. And then the only other thing that really happens in this episode is you get more like team building between the team as they like work together to, you know, survive.
Mm-hmm.
And
if you guys watch our Danmachi videos, I was talking about one thing where it's like, oh, I really like it whenever they show like, you know, characters using all of the skills that they have. And in this episode, you get kind of that because, you know, I mean, not like they have a lot of powers between them anyway. You know, most of the spellcasters only have like 3. Yeah, they only have like 3 different types of spells, but it's still nice seeing that they use all of them and they use them to the full. Because, I mean, if they don't use everything, they'll die. There's even some strategy, I think, that is really cool in the episode where he's like, yeah, let's use this to our advantage.
Yeah. As far as negatives, one thing that Josh and I have been talking about in regards to this series specifically is the CGI. In this one, this was the heaviest CGI episode.
Yeah. And I don't know, it's like, I'm just thankful they don't use it in fight scenes that much. I think they've done it earlier in the season where they actually had him like swinging his sword around in CGI, which I was like, But I will say at least it's not too like, you know, just having him is awkward, so that brings up the question, it's like, why is it even there? But that's also the thankfulness I have of it, that it's only used for that.
It's only used for wide shots. In this episode, Priestess actually had like a CGI moment as well.
I don't know. My only theory is that like they're just wanting to use that maybe one of their other shows coming up, and they're like, let's test it out in this and see how people think it looks.
I feel super weird saying this because it's a fantasy show, but I feel like it does break my immersion a little bit. It's like, well, yeah. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, there was like, I mean, I do this too, but like I was looking at one of the comments, so like, yeah, it kind of breaks the realism, and I'm like, it's a show with magic and lizard men and goblins, but I do the same thing, so I get where people come from.
That's the only thing. This episode was pretty colorful as well. It had a lot of different powers being used, way to kill goblins. The action was pretty great.
I love, now this is like a little thing, but I just love the sound effects they use for like when they're killing the goblins and like rocks or like the arrows are like hitting their face. Like that sounds like actual stuff hitting meat.
It's how they recorded it.
Great. That's probably, yeah, that's probably how they, they didn't go into that depth for the CGI, but. Anyway,
yeah, and we got to see new Lizardman power. He became a strong boy.
He did. He grew 3 sizes that day.
Yeah, not just his heart, too. His muscles.
And I think he's still my favorite character. Especially since he always has the sweet nectar. Speaking of that, that's like a running gag in the show, I think, as well as some of the stuff that Goblin Slayer has with the elf chick. But there was some good comedy in this episode. Pretty much all of the bantering that they have when they're fighting goblins is pretty good. And at the very end where they're, even like the little part where Priestess is like, I'm going to put this tiny feather on your head while you're sleeping.
Yeah, in most action shows, they don't have that much bantering. Mm-hmm. I feel it's interesting how they balance like life or death scenarios and that kind of like chatting. I think it's a little bit too much sometimes. Mm-hmm. And like in this episode where there was an extended scene where they were, fighting goblins, but I mean, it was cool. I mean, how can I complain? Dwarf guy was punching goblins.
With a freaking water bottle?
Excuse me? It's a rum bottle?
A rum bottle? Oh.
Whatever he drinks.
I don't know what he drinks.
Yeah.
Just
liquor bottle?
I do like... what did you think of his interaction with the Sword Maiden? Because there was parts of it I liked, but for some reason it felt out of place.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
I liked the ending where he's like, I'll protect you from goblins. But like the other stuff that she was saying, I was like, I don't really care.
Like, I don't know, maybe it's just because it didn't feel that much. Like, as much as I find her an interesting character, it wasn't very impactful. To me, anyway. But I do like the part where she's like, so now that you know the truth, what are you going to do? And he's like, nothing. You're not a goblin. Why do I care? So that's great. But looking, because we only have, this is episode 9, so we only have 3 episodes left. What are you looking forward to going forward? What do you want to see?
Something back home's gonna happen. I feel it. They're coming back home, and I feel like goblins are gonna be over there somewhere.
Do you think it's gonna be? Do you think they're gonna do something like they did a couple episodes ago, where it's like, oh, somebody literally died, but we brought him back? Or is it? Do you think it's gonna be like that severe of a situation, or is it just gonna be like?
I think it's gonna be just a large scale situation. Yeah.
It's interesting.
All the characters that we don't know.
Probably, yeah. Introducing a bunch. I do hope... Well, I guess we technically don't know if the witch or spearman is still in the city that they left, or if they're back home now. But I do wish to see some of the other adventures. Of them. Yeah. Also, do you think there's any chance we'll see an actual dice roll?
No, and I'm disappointed. Actually... I think maybe.
Maybe. Okay.
Maybe.
All right.
But it won't be associated to Goblin Slayer because he doesn't...
Yeah, he doesn't play with that game.
He doesn't play with dice. He doesn't gamble. He wins.
Like Kakagiri.
Exactly.
So, any final remarks before we close it down?
That's pretty much it. I enjoyed this episode. There were some elements that I didn't like, specifically the CGI, and some of the bantering in the combat was, I don't know, exaggerated for me. But overall, it was a good episode, and if you like what you've seen in the past episodes, I think you're going to like this episode.
Yeah, it's definitely keeping the action heavy in each episode, which is nice. I was just going to say one final thing. If they show like a wide shot of the god like peeking down, it's going to be CGI.
Thank you.
Definitely coming.
Thank you.
The god of CGI. Anyway, guys, I think that will conclude for this video. So we'll be back next week. We're really getting through the season really fast. This has gone by way faster than I thought it would. So it's kind of sad that we're close to the end, but hey, we're going to follow it, and we'll be back for that, so stay tuned for that. And if you want to check out other stuff, we have links in the description, and you can click the account button, because you can see all our videos. That kind of helps. But anyway, guys, we'll see you later.
Later.
Peace.